Mr. and Mrs. Thompson were fixtures in their quiet apartment building. A kind, elderly couple who always greeted neighbors with warm smiles. Behind closed doors, however, life was far from easy. Living on a modest pension, they struggled to keep up with rising costs. Groceries, utilities, medications, and especially rent. Every month, they debated which bills to prioritize, often skipping meals to save money. They avoided telling their children, not wanting to worry them, and kept their struggles hidden from neighbors out of pride. But as the months passed, the weight of their situation grew heavier. One evening, sitting at their worn kitchen table, they counted the remaining cash in their hands. Tears welled up in Mrs. Thompson's eyes as she whispered, "What will we do if they evict us?" Her husband patted her hand gently. "We'll figure something out," he said, though doubt lingered in his voice. Little did they know, someone nearby had overheard their conversation and decided to step in. The next day, Lisa, a neighbor 2 floors above, walked past their door just as Mr. Thompson muttered, "If only there was some way." His words trailed off, but Lisa caught enough to understand their plight. Her heart ached for the couple, and she knew she couldn't stand by and do nothing. That night, Lisa lay awake, thinking about the Thompsons. She imagined how scared they must feel, afraid of losing their home, yet too proud to ask for help. By morning, she'd made up her mind. Using her savings, she paid the Thompsons' overdue rent directly to the landlord, ensuring it remained anonymous. Along with the payment, she included a small note, "You matter more than you know." Lisa slipped the note under their door along with a bouquet of wildflowers she picked from a nearby park. It was a simple gesture, but it carried immense meaning for both the giver and the receivers. The next morning, the Thompsons discovered the bouquet of wildflowers and the heartfelt note outside their door. At first, they thought it might be a kind gesture from another tenant congratulating them on an occasion they'd forgotten, or perhaps a misplaced delivery. But when they checked their mailbox later that day, they found something even more surprising: proof of their paid rent. Mrs. Thompson clutched the receipt in trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. "Who could have done this?" she whispered, looking at her husband. Mr. Thompson shook his head, equally bewildered. "I don't know, but whoever it is has given us a second chance." They scoured the building for clues, asking neighbors casually if anyone knew about the flowers or the note. No one admitted to helping them, and the mystery only deepened. Lisa watched silently from afar, careful not to reveal herself. She felt a mix of pride and nervousness. Pride that she'd eased their burden, but nervousness about being discovered. For now, she preferred to stay in the shadows, letting the Thompsons focus on the relief rather than the source. Over the following weeks, Lisa continued paying their rent whenever she noticed they were struggling. Each time, she left a new note with encouraging words. "Kindness keeps us all afloat. Your strength inspires others. Even when you don't see it. We're stronger together." These messages became lifelines for the Thompsons, reminding them that they weren't alone. Mrs. Thompson taped each note to the wall near their dining table, creating a small collection of gratitude. Their newfound peace allowed them to think beyond survival. They started reaching out to others in the building, offering help wherever they could. When a neighbor fell ill, they brought her homemade soup. When a young mother struggled to carry groceries upstairs, they lent a hand. Though they couldn't repay their secret benefactor directly, they channeled their gratitude into acts of kindness for others. Word of the mysterious gifts spread quietly through the building. Neighbors whispered about the anonymous notes and wondered who could be behind such generosity. Some even speculated that it might inspire others to step up and help those in need. Unbeknownst to everyone, Lisa watched these ripple effects unfold with quiet pride. She hadn't expected her actions to spark anything beyond easing the Thompsons' struggles, but seeing the community come together, even in small ways, filled her with joy. Still, she remained silent, content to let the mystery continue. Meanwhile, David, a wealthy entrepreneur living on the top floor, took notice of the buzz surrounding the Thompsons' story. As someone who valued philanthropy, he was intrigued by the idea of someone giving so selflessly without seeking credit. It made him reflect on his own life and how he used his wealth. David decided to investigate further, discreetly asking neighbors and observing interactions in the building. Though he didn't uncover Lisa's identity, he became increasingly inspired by the impact of her actions. He realized that while money itself wasn't enough to change lives, intentionality and compassion could amplify its power. This realization planted a seed in David's mind, a plan to take responsibility not only for the Thompsons but also for fostering a culture of support within the community. What started as one person's quiet act of kindness was about to grow into something much bigger. The Thompsons were deeply moved by the anonymous gifts. At first, they thought it might be a family member or friend, but no one admitted to helping them. Their curiosity grew, yet so did their gratitude. Each time they received a note, they read it over and over, finding comfort in its words. Mrs. Thompson began taping the notes to the wall near their dining table, creating a small collection of kindness. "Whoever is doing this must have a heart of gold," she said to her husband one evening. "They've saved us. Not just financially, but emotionally too." Mr. Thompson nodded, his eyes glistening with tears. "It's like a guardian angel watching over us," he replied softly. "But I wish we could thank them properly." Despite not knowing who their benefactor was, the couple felt a renewed sense of purpose. They started paying closer attention to others around them, wondering if someone else might need help too. When a neighbor fell ill, they brought her homemade soup. When a young mother struggled to carry groceries upstairs, they offered assistance. Though they couldn't repay their secret helper directly, they channeled their gratitude into acts of kindness for others. Word of their mysterious benefactor spread quietly through the building. Neighbors whispered about the anonymous notes and wondered who could be behind such generosity. Some even speculated that it might inspire others to step up and help those in need. Unbeknownst to everyone, Lisa watched these ripple effects unfold with quiet pride. She hadn't expected her actions to spark anything beyond easing the Thompson struggles, but seeing the community come together, even in small ways, filled her with joy. Still, she remained silent, content to let the mystery continue. Meanwhile, David, a wealthy entrepreneur living on the top floor, took notice of the buzz surrounding the Thompson story. As someone who valued philanthropy, he was intrigued by the idea of someone giving so selflessly without seeking credit. It made him reflect on his own life and how he used his wealth. David decided to investigate further, discreetly asking neighbors and observing interactions in the building. Though he didn't uncover Lisa's identity, he became increasingly inspired by the impact of her actions. He realized that while money itself wasn't enough to change lives, intentionality and compassion could amplify its power. This realization planted a seed in David's mind, a plan to take responsibility not only for the Thompsons but also for fostering a culture of support within the community. What started as one person's quiet act of kindness was about to grow into something much bigger. For the Thompsons, this period marked a turning point. They no longer felt like victims of circumstance. Instead, they saw themselves as part of a larger web of care and connection. Even though they still didn't know who their benefactor was, they carried the lessons of gratitude and generosity forward in everything they did. One evening, as Mrs. Thompson watered the potted plants on their windowsill, she turned to her husband and said, "Maybe we'll never find out who helped us, but maybe that's okay. What matters is what we do with the gift they gave us." Her words echoed through their home, and eventually, through the entire building. As more people began embracing the spirit of kindness that had started with one person's simple act. David had always been successful, but lately, he'd felt disconnected from the world around him. His wealth allowed him to live comfortably, but it didn't bring fulfillment. Hearing about the Thompsons' anonymous benefactor reignited something inside him, a desire to use his resources meaningfully. One afternoon, David approached the building manager under the pretense of discussing maintenance issues. Casually, he asked about the Thompsons' situation. The manager confirmed what David already suspected. The elderly couple had fallen behind on rent multiple times before someone mysteriously stepped in to help. "That kind of generosity is rare these days," the manager remarked. "Whoever is doing it deserves recognition." David nodded thoughtfully. Recognition wasn't necessary, he thought. What mattered was the impact. Inspired, David drafted a plan. First, he contacted the landlord and paid off the Thompsons' remaining balance in full, ensuring they wouldn't face eviction again. Then, he set up a trust fund specifically for tenants in financial distress, naming it after the building's address to keep it low-key. Next, David reached out to Lisa. After piecing together clues, he deduced that she was likely the anonymous benefactor. One evening, he knocked on her door, introducing himself and expressing admiration for her efforts. "I know it's you," David said gently, "and I want to help expand what you've started." Lisa hesitated at first, unsure whether to admit her role. But when David explained his vision, to create a sustainable system of support for struggling families, she agreed to collaborate. Together, they devised strategies to identify those in need while maintaining privacy and dignity. With David's funding and Lisa's first-hand knowledge of the community, their partnership flourished. They provided emergency aid, utility bill assistance, and even scholarships for children in the building to attend extracurricular activities. Slowly but surely, the entire building transformed into a network of care and mutual respect. For the Thompsons, this meant peace of mind they hadn't felt in years. Not only were their immediate needs met, but they also benefited from additional support that improved their quality of life. A new wheelchair ramp installed outside the building, for example, made it easier for Mr. Thompson to navigate safely. David often visited the Thompsons personally, listening to their stories and learning from their resilience. "You remind me why I do this work," he told them once. "People like you are the backbone of our community." Through it all, Lisa continued playing her part, albeit more openly now. Watching David take the reins reminded her that kindness doesn't have to be solitary. It can grow exponentially when shared. The ripple effect extended beyond the building. News of the initiative spread to neighboring communities, inspiring similar programs elsewhere. Local businesses began donating supplies, and volunteers stepped forward to assist with organizing events like free health checkups and job fairs for residents. What started as one person's quiet act of kindness had evolved into a movement that touched countless lives. And at the heart of it all were two unlikely allies: Lisa, the compassionate neighbor, and David, the millionaire who chose to lead with empathy. As months passed, the impact of David and Lisa's combined efforts became undeniable. Tenants who once kept to themselves began forming bonds, organizing potlucks, and checking in on one another regularly. The spirit of generosity spread throughout the building, creating a sense of unity that had never existed before. For the Thompsons, life felt lighter. With their financial worries eased, they focused on enjoying their golden years. Mrs. Thompson joined a knitting group in the building, where she taught others how to make scarves and hats for charity. Mr. Thompson started volunteering at the local library, sharing stories with children during storytime sessions. Their renewed energy inspired others to pursue passions they'd long set aside. Lisa found herself at the center of this transformation, not as a leader but as a connector, someone who brought people together through acts of kindness. She organized monthly gratitude nights, where residents gathered to share meals and express thanks for the good things in their lives. These gatherings strengthened relationships and fostered a culture of appreciation. David, too, experienced a profound shift. For years, he'd measured success by numbers, profits, investments, and assets. Now, he saw success differently. In smiles, hugs, and the quiet moments when someone realized they weren't alone. He spent more time in the building, getting to know his neighbors and learning about their dreams and struggles. One day, a young girl named Mia approached David after a community event. Her mother worked 2 jobs to support their family, and Mia rarely saw her. "Thank you for helping my mom," she said shyly, handing him a drawing she'd made of the building surrounded by hearts. David knelt down to meet her eye level. "You're welcome, Mia. But remember, it's not just me. Everyone here is part of making this place special." Mia beamed, running back to her mother, who thanked David with tears in her eyes. Moments like these reminded him why he'd chosen this path, and why it mattered so much. The ripple effect extended beyond individual lives. Local businesses noticed the positive changes in the building and offered discounts to residents. Schools invited tenants to speak about the power of community support. Even city officials took note, highlighting the initiative as a model for other neighborhoods facing similar challenges. But perhaps the most beautiful outcome was how people began paying it forward. A tenant who'd received rent assistance started tutoring children in math. Another used her sewing skills to repair clothes for free. Acts of kindness, big and small, became second nature to everyone involved. Lisa often reflected on how far they'd come since that first secret payment. What began as an attempt to ease one family's burden had grown into a thriving ecosystem of care. And while she still cherished her anonymity, she no longer needed it. The entire community embodied the spirit she'd hoped to inspire. Years passed, and the building became known as a beacon of kindness in the neighborhood. People from other parts of town would visit, hoping to learn how such a close-knit community had formed. The story of the Thompsons, Lisa, and David spread far and wide, inspiring others to create similar networks of support in their own communities. For the Thompsons, life remained peaceful but filled with purpose. They celebrated milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, and even the birth of a great-grandchild, with joy and gratitude. Their wall of notes, once a small collection, now stretched across an entire corner of their living room, symbolizing the love and care they'd received over the years. Lisa continued her quiet acts of kindness, though she no longer worked alone. Dozens of volunteers joined her efforts, ensuring that no one in the building, or beyond, had to face hardship without help. She often said, "Kindness isn't about being extraordinary. It's about doing ordinary things with extraordinary care." David found fulfillment he'd never imagined possible. He sold his lucrative business and dedicated himself full-time to philanthropy, focusing on projects that empowered underserved communities. Though wealth had once defined him, he now measured his worth by the lives he touched. One evening, during a community gathering, David stood up to speak. "This journey started because one person decided to act," he said, looking at Lisa. "And it grew because each of you chose to keep that spirit alive. Together, we've proven that compassion is contagious, and it changes everything." The crowd erupted in applause, but Lisa simply smiled, shaking her head modestly. To her, none of this was about recognition, it was about connection. As the years went by, new families moved into the building, eager to join the thriving community. Older tenants passed down stories of how it all began, teaching younger generations the importance of empathy and generosity. In the end, the legacy of kindness created by Lisa, David, and the Thompsons wasn't just about solving problems. It was about fostering relationships, building trust, and reminding everyone that no one should have to struggle alone. And so, surrounded by gratitude and purpose, they looked forward to each new day, ready to continue spreading hope, one kind gesture at a time. The story of the Thompsons, Lisa, and David shows us that kindness isn't just a feeling, it's an action. One small gesture can spark a chain reaction, transforming lives in ways we might never expect. Whether it's paying someone's rent, leaving a kind note, or simply lending a listening ear, every act of compassion matters. Think about your own life. How many times have you hesitated to help because you weren't sure if it would make a difference? Or maybe you doubted whether your actions would be noticed. Lisa didn't wait for recognition. She acted out of pure empathy. And look at the impact she created. A movement that inspired others, including David, to step up and do more. Now it's your turn. Imagine the difference you could make by embracing the same mindset. What if today, you decided to perform one selfless act? Something as simple as holding the door for a stranger, offering words of encouragement to a coworker, or helping a neighbor carry groceries. You never know who might need that moment of kindness, or how far its ripple effects might reach. Kindness doesn't require money, resources, or grand gestures. It starts with intention. Maybe it's volunteering at a local shelter, mentoring someone struggling to find their footing, or organizing a community cleanup. These acts may feel small to you, but they can mean the world to someone else. Let's take inspiration from Lisa and David's example. Together, we can build communities rooted in empathy and support, places where everyone feels valued and cared for. When we lift others up, we also lift ourselves. Studies show that performing acts of kindness boosts happiness, reduces stress, and strengthens relationships. Helping others truly is a win-win. And don't underestimate the power of sharing your story. When Lisa paid the Thompsons' rent, she didn't seek attention. But when her actions were discovered, they inspired David to amplify her efforts. By sharing your experiences of giving or receiving kindness, you can motivate those around you to join in. Talk about it, write about it, or post about it online. Your story could spark a movement bigger than you ever imagined. So here's my challenge to you. Start today. Look for opportunities to spread kindness wherever you go. Smile at someone having a tough day. Offer assistance to a neighbor carrying heavy bags. Donate items you no longer use to someone who needs them more. Each action adds up, creating a wave of positivity that touches lives far beyond your immediate circle. But here's the thing, we can't do this alone. If you've been inspired by stories like Lisa's and David's and want to be part of a growing movement of kindness, we need your help. Subscribe now to stay updated on heartwarming stories, practical tips for making a difference, and opportunities to connect with like-minded individuals who believe in the power of compassion. By subscribing, you'll join a community dedicated to spreading kindness. One story, one act, and one person at a time. Together, we can amplify these messages and inspire even more people to take action. What will your act of kindness be today? Will you ease someone's burden, metaphorically speaking? Will you offer time, energy, or resources to brighten another person's path? Whatever it is, know that it matters. Every single act contributes to a better, kinder world. We'd love to hear from you. Share your stories of kindness in the comments below, or tell us how someone else's generosity has impacted your life. Let's celebrate these moments together and inspire each other to keep going. Because when we come together through acts of compassion, there's nothing we can't achieve. The world needs more people like Lisa, David, and the Thompsons, people like you. So let's get started. One act of kindness at a time, we can change the world. Ready to make a difference? Subscribe now to stay connected and be part of this journey toward a kinder, brighter future.